Welcome to Self-Education through self-expression, discovery, and exploration. I'm your host, Courtney Brame, and it's really quiet right now. I'm very surprised at how quiet it is outside considering the construction has been going on. And before I started recording, there were some kids outside being really loud. It's just three of them next to each other talking, but they are so loud I can hear them back here. So if you hear faint discussion in the background, that's where it came from. Hopefully, I can remember the topic that I want to touch on today, which is actually sexual frustration. But before I do that, I got to talk about this set of dreams that I had over the course of today. It was so wild I had to voice record it and send it to myself so that I could listen later and see about processing it. But the most detailed one was this part where I was living in the original house that I grew up in. It was a 3 bedroom house. It had 2 bathrooms in it, a basement, and I always used to have this reoccurring dream that the house was gonna explode and I had to evacuate the house. I always had that dream, but this time it was a lot different. I was in this house and I remember there was a hole in my screen door to my bedroom, my childhood bedroom, and for whatever reason, I just kept my door closed to the bedroom. So I go into the bedroom and I notice that the screen door had been open or cut through or scratched or something. And I look at my bed and the sheets look like some type of cigarette holes or burn holes. Like if you ever smoked before and dropped ash on something, it puts a little bit of a burn hole in it. But there weren't any burns, so it just looked a little odd to me. And so I go, that's weird. And so I think it was a little bit chilly, so I shut the windows. And then I heard like a clawing and a screeching noise coming from it when I had left. So I came back in and there was a possum like aggressively attacking the mini hole in the screen door. And I was like, that's weird. Get out of here, possum. Get out of here. So I had like a rolled up towel and I started to flick it at it so it would go away, but it was not going away right away. Eventually it walked off when I got too close to it, but it was still really angry and aggressive. I was like, that thing must be pregnant. So I leave and I'm like, look at the screen. It could have gotten in here if it was right there long enough. So I closed the door. I closed that window. I'm sorry, not the door. I closed the window where the screen had a hole in it. And I go over and look at the other 2 windows that are side by side to it. And those screens are perfectly fine. So I cracked the window to get a little bit of air in there. I walk out of the room and I was like, I need to get this screen fixed. And I can't remember who came. It was either my grandfather or my stepdad. And they came in and they looked and they saw the covers. They pulled back the covers and noticed that it wasn't just those what were burn markers. There were footprints leading from the window down to the edge of the bed, to the bottom of the bed, toward the closet. Now, in this dream, my closet was in a different location, which I thought was odd. And so he walks over to the closet, and before he even opens the door, I was like, it wasn't pregnant. It had the babies. Those aren't burn holes. Those are chew holes. He opens the door and all these baby possums come out from different sizes too. It was almost like a little village of possums or something that just been living in my closet, right? And so at this point, I'm grabbing some type of crate because I want to get them out of there. I don't want to stomp on them and kill them and whatnot. Like I wanted to reunite the baby possums or possum family with its mother, who clearly was looking for them, right? And so at that point I woke up from the dream. And I had a bunch of other dreams that really didn't have much meaning behind them, but I'm not going to talk about those. This one had a significant amount of meaning. So what I normally do when I have a dream, as I've talked about in the previous episode with the octopus and the dolphin, I look up the spiritual significance of whatever animal was present in that dream. And so a possum represents like a negative or manipulative situation, like being used. If the possum were digging a hole, it would mean that you were going to die or something like that. I don't know. But I remember reading about that, and I was like, I don't know that there's any situations where I'm like being used. If I search hard enough, I can find something. But then baby possums represent, what was it? It represented situation change. Actually, I think I can look it up real quick. It was on one of my most recent tabs. Oh, I screenshot it. If you hear any like tapping or something right here, please excuse me. Here we go. Okay. The dream of a possum represents a person or situation in your life where someone is fully aware of what they are doing is wrong and not caring about it. Disgusting, dishonesty, or arrogance. A possum may reflect people who are so terrible that know you need something and use it to get more from you. And then we have dream about a baby possum. So now mind you, they were both in here. It means that you are too much dependent on someone. And it would be best if you always moved forward in your life. Dream of possum digging a hole. Oh, that's different. Okay, so that was it. I need to move forward. So if you've listened to the previous episode, I mentioned how I felt as if I've outsourced my fear of rejection. I've outsourced receiving rejection or whatever it is that comes with that to Carl, who runs the gym that I train people that give him 100. Because he's the one that gets new clients, I just train people. Like that's been what it's become. And last week, I actually journaled. And in these journal entries that I had written, I don't know if I mentioned this on the last episode, but I am someone who cannot differentiate the feeling between success and failure, and then excitement and fear. So that's four things I just named, but the two together, to me, they're on a binary. They're on some sort of a spectrum at opposite ends. And so the feeling, the intensity of whatever that feeling is, I can't distinguish the difference between being activated about success or failure, and I can't distinguish the different emotion that's attached with being activated by fear or excitement. Right. And this was something that came out in a writing exercise from my yoga teacher training. Shout out to Yoga Buzz in St. Louis, Missouri. And when I realized that, what came out for me was, it reminds me of fight or flight. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. As you get more into trauma and understanding fight or flight, you can say it either way, then it makes more sense. So as I began to explore that and like just write, I recognize that if I can't tell the difference between the feeling, then there has to be some sort of an integration between the two that my body or my intuition just knows, right? So in something being fearful or something scary, it could also be exciting to explore. Whenever there's a failure, at some level, there's a success in that. So when you integrate, or you look at both of those things and how they go together, it makes it a lot easier to choose what you want to do with the feeling. So my feelings of excitement historically have been tied to disappointment. My feelings of success have always been tied to disappointment as well. But the intensity of that feeling on the opposite end is where motivation is. If I choose to be motivated by my fear, if I choose to be motivated by failure, and then I just decide no matter what, I'm going to move forward, just like the dream says, stop your dependence and move forward. You see the interconnectedness of all of this. So in a way, this dream was a realization of what I already knew. Now, as far as the someone being aware that they're using me or taking advantage of me, I'll have to look a little bit deeper to figure out where that could be or who that could be. I can't say there's any situations like that at least on the surface look that way. Like I said, if I can take long enough to dig, I'll be able to make that tie in with anything or anyone who is around me. Now, move forward. Take that feeling that I get, whatever that intense emotion is, and use it as motivation. So that fear and excitement feeling on the spectrum, whatever it is, it needs to be motivation. And the same thing with that success and failure, not being able to know the difference between the two. Every failure is a success or has a success in it because, again, failure is a redirection. Now, if I can only take that and apply that to my belief about rejection, where I'm codependent or dependent and on I'm dependent on Carl to be the source of where my income comes from. Because, I mean, if at the end of the day, if ain't no business, ain't nobody getting paid, right? So he's getting clients, I don't have to worry about being rejected, and I get to pay my bills. That's been the narrative, and I mentioned that on the previous episode as well. I'm aware of that. But yeah, just waking up with that dream this morning really was, it just felt like something that I needed to connect the dots on. And while it hasn't yet been fully processed, I'm really grateful for this space to be able to just put it out there and say what I need to say in order to begin the processing process. Ooh. But yeah, I listen to my dreams. I try and record them, especially when they're as vivid as this one was. But with the spiritual significance or the dream meaning of possums, it's definitely given me an angle to look at things. Because if I were to look at what possums meant to me, I don't know that I would have had any sort of context to work from. I just know that they play dead. And when we look at that, I've learned that it's a fight or flight response. Their response to being scared or life and death situations is to just play dead. They play possum, right? And then with the energy that they discharge from playing dead or that they conserve, they get up and they like shake off the excess adrenaline that they have, and then they go on about their business. And I think that that's another aspect that this may symbolize, considering possums do that. So for me, taking the feeling whenever it comes out, the endorphins release for me to fight or flight or freeze, then I have to take that and put it into action. And I feel like I've been doing that with this move that I'm planning, and I'm wanting to move out west somewhere. I mentioned that it's looking like Portland. Portland looks amazing. I'll plan a few more trips to go out there and try and rub elbows with some health professionals and perhaps get an opportunity to continue my nonprofit work alongside an organization that'll be able to pay and fund something positive for positive people. And I'll also be able to teach yoga classes as well. I'll be done with my 300-hour in November, but we'll see what happens because my lease ends in July. If the right opportunity comes along, which I'm very intentionally making an effort to create for myself, then I'll be able to get up and out a little bit sooner. So, yeah, this move forward is what the theme is. You take that feeling, that fight or flight feeling, and you choose what to do with it when you can, when you are able to disengage from being in the trauma rather than realizing that whatever this triggered state is. I said trauma, I meant to say trigger. Understand that you're not in the trigger is in you. So that means that you can step back and look at what the trigger is and go, okay, well, this is what I normally do. This is what I want to do. I want to move forward. How do I move forward through this? I've got this excess boost of energy, this intensity in me. I can choose to take action or I can choose inaction. Whatever that action is, whatever that inaction is going to be something that is supposed to dispel the the release of those chemicals, the adrenaline, because we're not supposed to just constantly be in that state of using it. We gotta, when it's activated, burn it off, and then going about our business. We gotta move forward. All right. Wrapping up the dream, because I almost forgot what I was originally supposed to talk about. This podcast episode would have been over. But sexual frustration. How do I know when I'm sexually frustrated? So I haven't had sex in I don't want to count this, but it counts. Yeah, I don't want to go into detail, but I've not been masturbating until recently. Actually, yesterday it was. Yep, yesterday I masturbated. But leading up to that point, it was a little bit over 2 weeks, or a little bit under 2 weeks, one of the two. And it was before I even left for Portland. I think that that might have been the last time that I did. It was it would have been a Wednesday night if I did masturbate, or a Tuesday. No, actually Monday. It was the Monday before I left for Portland. So late August 19th, 18th. August 17th was a Tuesday. August 16th was a Monday. Got it. So on August 16th, a Monday, that was the last time that I had sex. I didn't get off though. And so yesterday being August 20, oh no, it won't let me look at my screen. All right, here we go. Okay, it was August 29th. So I had 2.5-ish weeks of not watching porn, not masturbating, not having sex. And what I noticed during that time was that I normally have a lot of control over my word choice when I'm talking to people, especially depending on who I'm talking to. If it's a newer person, then I'm very careful about that. But I caught myself like sliding in hints or flirtations or invitations for advances for some type of sexual exchange. Even if it was just like a joke, even if the joke fit and was funny, it just seemed like where it was coming from was from a place of being sexually frustrated. And this was an intentional choice for me to not masturbate, to not have sex. But at an unconscious level, it was really interesting to observe. Like, I look at a text message from when I was like dozing off, and I really need to stop texting people beyond a certain time because I'm sleepy, I'm tired, I'm more than likely horny, and I just need to not say anything until the next day after my workout. Because after my workout, I'm probably the most leveled out that I'll be, or the most mellow after I work out, or after I have an orgasm. Those are the two times I'm probably the most mellow that you will ever experience. All right. So I looked at, it was probably about 4 or 5 different text exchanges where I made some like comment. It wasn't appropriate, and I recognized that. And I feel like it was maybe overlooked or dismissed because it was Courtney, but I hold myself to pretty high regards when it comes to communication. I normally let women initiate, or potential partners initiate any type of dialogue there, so that I know what's okay, what's not okay. And I know that's like not the masculine thing or the manly thing to do, but man, fuck that shit, to be honest. Like, where I'm at in life, I have access, or people have access to me, and these are people who are often in a very vulnerable position, or they're in a place where they might not feel sexy, or they may not feel connected to their bodies or anything like that. And so what I try to do on a regular basis is just hype people up in a way that isn't me making any sexual advances on them. So I try to encourage women to be like, girl, you a bad bitch. Or if guys reach out, I'm like, hey man, you a handsome dude. Like, you got to know these things about yourself. But I try to encourage it in that way. But I recognize that the line is crossed whenever there's any type of hint of myself and a person doing something, or even if it's like imagined or used as a example even, right? So with something that leads with let's say we're together, and dot dot dot. That is something that I know that professionally I will not say. But I said it and I was like, yo, something's not right here. I need to step away from being me right now, being H on my chest, because there's the intensity of Courtney that's spilling over into these other areas of my life, my professional life. So don't I don't think I've ever been the kind of person who has a 100% been professional, right? And I think that contributes to a lot of the success that I've had throughout my career, and being where I'm at. But I don't want to mess my stuff up because I'm sexually frustrated, right? So I think of or talk about like celibacy, or I talk about any type of addiction, or if I talk about any moderation always seems to be the best way of going about it. If I wasn't sexually frustrated, I probably wouldn't even been thinking about the comments that I made. But like, just I don't want to use any more examples. But I caught myself, like I caught these exchanges, and the exchanges weren't awkward or uncomfortable. It was like, sometimes they're fed into, but once I catch it, I can't unsee it. So I have to like change subject or disengage, and that inconsistency in my behavior probably mind fucks people into going from, wait a minute, does he like me? Is he attracted to me? What? And so I know what I need to do. Communication wise, like, I don't know. I don't know if an apology is what needs to happen, especially if it was fed into, or if it was just kind of deflected or dismissed. But I also don't want to be perceived as this horny ass dude, just like set up this system of being able to hook up with anybody or take advantage of anybody that's in a vulnerable place. Now, mind you, the people that I've spoken to in this context haven't been, they're not in a vulnerable place, but at the same time, like, I feel like I am, and I'm taking advantage of myself in a way, I know that I need to remain regulated. So that can look like going into spaces that are for those sexual exchanges and having that release. So I talked about the buildup of having that trigger, and then those chemicals release in your body, and bam. So for me, like the trigger of horniness, something arouses me, I have to have spaces that I can go into in order to self-regulate. So it would be the equivalent of, bam, fight or flight triggered. I'm either going to run or I'm going to fight, or I'm going to freeze. And then when it's safe, dispel whatever extra pent up energy there is. So in the sense of being horny, there's the fight or flight response, or freeze even. How do you handle your horniness? Do you allow for it to spill in that other thing that you're doing? If I'm on a conference call and all of a sudden, bam, I get a boner, or I'm like super overwhelmed with the intensity of an erection, or wanting to have some sort of a sexual release, how do I handle that? I mean, I'm not going to put myself on mute, go handle that and come back. But like, to be able to have a plan for when I can regulate again, here's what it is and I'm going to do. But depriving myself of sexual experiences, of masturbation, of being able to have that sort of release, I don't know that it worked out for me. There are other things that you can go do, of course. You'll see online people talk about semen retention and control over your sexuality makes you a powerful man. But if I know that my body is requesting something of me and I give that to my body, then that's, to me, is much more intuitive, much more intelligent than continuing to just deprive your body of something that it's asking you for. It's almost like the equivalent of being like, oh, well, I'm not going to eat for 40 days. Your body's going to tell you it's hungry. And to deprive your body of its nutrients, its life source, and giving it what it needs, what's the difference between giving it what it needs nutrition-wise versus giving it what it needs at that energetic level or the emotional level, right? So options look like just masturbating. It looks like asking for what I need from someone who's capable of or willing to give it to me. It looks like going online or in person to spaces and events where that release is encouraged, or it's encouraged for people to have that feeling and decide how they want to explore it. right? So yeah, I'm really proud of myself for recognizing, all right, I'm sexually frustrated. I need to do something about it because I don't want to jeopardize or ruin any of my business relationships. I don't want to ruin any of my personal relationships that can become business, and I don't want to like make any potential partners uncomfortable either. Especially because my thing has always been, okay, I'm here, I'm gonna do what I normally do and just let the other person make the first move so that I then know that it's safe to make a move if there's mutual interest. If there is a mutual interest, then I address it as it comes up or if it's needed. Because a lot of times it's not even necessary because it doesn't go past a certain point. All right. So that's it. It's all about moderation. So on one extreme, you have don't do it. On the other extreme, you have just do it. Not do it till you can't no more. And I've always been one of the two. It's always been no, I'm not gonna do it, or it's been I'm gonna masturbate so much over the course of this next day that I'm not gonna have these urges for weeks. And that is not how that works. The more you do it, sometimes the more you want it, and then it becomes a point where it's not enough. And I think that that's how we get into these addictive cycles. We get into addiction patterns, right? So throughout the last 2.5 weeks, I've also been prepping for my move from a financial standpoint, trying to connect with health professionals. And I've been doing that a lot instead of masturbating, but masturbating don't take that long, or having sex. That doesn't always take that long, right? So I don't know that I contribute using my horniness in a way to boost my work forward, but I will say that I noticed that I've been super motivated since getting back from Portland, since having some of the conversations that I had about my personal life and how I show up, and even how it connects to my professional life, right? So where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, the motivation. So I've been more motivated since coming back to take actions that I could have and should have taken a while ago. For instance, with the gym, I'm putting on this fundraiser workout where all of the money that comes in is going to go to this nonprofit organization. Should have been doing that. It's just a once a week thing. It's all through the month of September. I've also I think that I've connected with someone who can really help me with getting my nonprofit going, because a presentation that he had presented, and he's in Oregon, was basically talking about the same things that I'm doing for or through my nonprofit. So I'm pumped about that, because that also seems like a sign, given he's in the state that I want to be in. Hopefully, maybe, possibly, there may be some connections there. So hopefully we can make this happen, but I'm choosing to move forward. I'm taking this energy that I've always tried to repress for as long as I have, and I feel like it's still awakening within me, regardless of where like the intensity arises, and I choose what direction to give it to. So maybe it might go to being horny and masturbating. It might go to sending out emails and something positive. It might go to hanging or trying to get clients. It might go to being social. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, because I can't tell the difference between what scares me and what excites me. I can't tell the difference between success and failure. So if I'm just moving forward and utilizing the momentum that I'm getting and the motivation that is continuing to stay where it is, then that none of that matters. I mean, all that really matters is that I'm moving forward. It doesn't matter if I'm scared. It doesn't matter if I failed. There's going to be success and failures, and there's going to be excitement and fear. That's all that comes down to. That felt good. Why? Okay, yeah, that's it. That's all I got today. I hope that this helps someone process something through my lived experience, my dream, as well as the aspect of sexual frustration. Think about what you do when you're not having that sense of connection, because I think that that's what it's rooted in. A feeling of loneliness, a feeling of just wanting touch and wanting to be touched, a feeling of wanting closeness and emotional intimacy with someone that you can just be you with and they can be them, right? So, yeah, just try and figure out a time that you've been sexually frustrated or where you had like an outburst or something that you know wasn't you. And then examine that and see, are you getting the connection that you want? Like, I went to the naked bike ride over the weekend and it felt right. It was uncomfortable at first. I wore shorts, of course. I wasn't ready for the full nude thing. But just being able to connect with people and having the connections that I had while I was there, and the conversations and meeting people and the experience overall. Yes, my butt sore from that bike seat for riding for however many miles there was, but it was so worth it. It was worth it. And that's the kind of like thing that oftentimes, it may not even be sexual frustration now that I'm saying it out loud. It may be connectual frustrations. Bam, that's the episode title. So look at the ways that we connect with people, and when you feel off center or imbalanced or not yourself, then try getting a moderate amount of whatever it is that you need in order to make yourself feel connected. Till next time, get selfed. Oh God, I gotta work on a closing, especially if I'm about to bring guests on here. Thank you.